Hello students, welcome to today's session. So far we have completed keywords, identifiers and literals. So we are still discussing tokens, and the next kind of token that we'll be looking at today is punctuators. So what are punctuators? Punctuators are certain symbols that are used for grouping and separating the code. Okay, focus on these two words, grouping and separating. Okay, so it's mainly used for two purposes. One is grouping and the other one is separating. We'll see the examples of both in BlueJ. So the first kind of punctuator is semicolon, next is comma, then we have curly brackets, then parenthesis, square brackets and period. Period means full stop, okay, a dot. So you can call it dot operator also, okay. Instead of calling it period, you can call it dot. So let's have a look on semicolon. So what is the use of semicolon? Semicolon is the most commonly used, okay, is the most commonly used, because you'll be using semicolon to terminate every statement. Okay, that is why it is most commonly used. So what is it? Is it used for grouping or is it used for separating? Semicolon is used for separating. Separating what? Separating statements. Okay, it is used for separating statements. Let's have a look. So this is our punctuators class, inside which I've got the main function, and inside the main function I'll write a few lines or a few Java statements. Okay, so let's say int x is equal to 10, system dot out dot println x. Okay, so I just want to display the value of x. So how many statements are there inside the main function? We have got one statement and the second statement. And you can see that this statement is also terminated by a semicolon, and this statement as well is also terminated by a semicolon. So every Java statement is terminated with the help of semicolon. So this semicolon is separating this particular statement from the rest of the Java statements. Similarly, this particular semicolon is separating, in this case I don't have any further statements, but just in case I had more statements after this line, this semicolon would have acted as the separator for this particular statement. Okay, so this is about semicolon. And one more thing regarding semicolons. See, you'll be using semicolons to terminate every statement in Java, but there are certain lines where you don't need semicolons to terminate the statements. Like for example, in this line you can see that there is no semicolon. In this line also there is no semicolon. In this line also there is no semicolon. Okay, so there will be only a few places, okay, very few places where you'll not be using semicolons to terminate the statement. For example, when you are declaring a class, when you are starting a group, when you are ending a group. Okay, so these are the cases where you'll not be using semicolon. Okay, in this line also, static void main in function declaration, this line is a function declaration line. So even in the case of function declaration line, you'll not use semicolon to terminate the statement. Okay, similarly here we have got the opening curly brackets and closing curly brackets. So in these both cases, you'll not be using semicolons. And you can look at it in another way also. For example, when you talk about this class, you cannot terminate the class here because class is a group. Okay, class shows a group of functions. Okay, class itself is a group of many functions, many attributes. Okay, that is why if you terminate here, that there is no point in creating a class, and in fact you cannot do that. It will result in an error. Okay, so just like class is a group of member methods and member variables, so you'll not be using semicolon. So just as in class you don't use semicolon, similarly a function is what? A function is a collection of statements. Okay, so a function is itself a group of statements. Okay, so the group is it will start somewhere and it will end somewhere, right? So whatever comes between this start point and end point is the function. Okay, it is the function. Okay, so if you terminate it here, then the whole purpose of creating a function will be defeated, because the function statement will end here, and the remaining statements will not be a part of the function. Okay, so that's it. That's about semicolon. Next is comma. Okay, the next kind of punctuator is comma. So commas are used for separating list of variables. Okay, I'll just give you an example. Suppose I have declared here x variable of type int, and I want to declare more variables of type int. So I can do it in the same line by using comma. So I've written comma, y is equal to 20, comma, z is equal to 30. Okay, so you can see these variables here, x, y and z, have been declared of type int, and the variables themselves are separated by comma. So x, y and z, they are separated by using comma. Then they are also used in other places also, like inside the function parameters. When you give a list of parameters, there you will be using comma to separate the variables, but I'll not go into detail right now. I've just given you an example. Okay, so this is where comma is used. So if you look at the definition here, it is used to separate consecutive identifiers in a variable declaration. Okay, consecutive identifiers. So what is x, what is y, what is z? They are identifiers. Recall what is the definition of identifier. If you don't know what an identifier is, watch my previous videos. Okay, so this is the definition that comma is used for separating identifiers, right? Let's look at the third kind of punctuator. So the third kind is curly brackets. Okay, so curly brackets are used to define a block of code in a Java program. A block of code, okay, and they are used to initialize the value of arrays. So I'll show you the example for the first part. Second part is beyond the context of this chapter. So I cannot explain you right now what are arrays, but you just need to remember that curly brackets are used for defining a block of code and initializing the values of arrays. Okay, so two places where curly brackets are used. So let's see the first place. See, when you have declared a class, then you must start the class and you must end the class. Okay, so this particular curly bracket is defining the start point of the class, and this closing curly bracket is defining the end point of the class. Similarly, when you have declared a function, you must start the function. Okay, so this opening curly braces here defines the start point of the function, and this curly bracket, closing curly bracket, denotes the end point of the main function. Okay, so this one is the end point of our punctuators class. Next, parenthesis. So parentheses are used to define methods. They are also used to define the precedence of operators and conditions in control structures. So let's try to understand. First one is to define methods. Okay, see, here we have used parentheses. So here we are defining the main method, isn't it? This whole group is our main function. Okay, so this opening parenthesis and closing parenthesis here is written just next to the name of the function. So this is where you use parenthesis. The second place where parenthesis is used is when you are using precedence of operators. So what is precedence of operators? We'll discuss this in I think in the next chapter we'll discuss this precedence of operators. So for now you can ignore this. And conditions in control structures, this will be discussing while discussing if, else and other control structures. So this was about parenthesis. Square brackets. So the next one is square brackets. They are used to declare arrays and to refer to values at a particular index. Again, so this square bracket is mainly used while using arrays. Okay, remember this. And the dot. Okay, so the dot operator in Java is used to access member variables and methods. And it is also used to differentiate the package names from sub-packages and class names. So let's try to understand the first point. It is used to access member variables and methods. So what is this member variables and methods? So let's say I've got a member variable here, int num. Okay, and we have got a member function called main. Now let's say I want to define a value for num. How can I do that? I can do it by creating an object of the class first. So our class is punctuators. P1 is equal to new punctuators. P1 dot num is equal to 10. So don't worry if you do not understand the code right now, but I've already shown you examples of classes and objects, how to create an object in previous videos. But still, if you don't understand it right now, don't worry. In future, we'll be discussing this again. So let's compile it. It's compiled successfully, and let's execute it. Okay, no need to execute. My main purpose to show you this program is that we have created a member variable here. So this member variable can be accessed with the help of this object here. P1 is an object. So object name, see, dot operator. After the object name, you give the dot operator and then the name of the member variable. This is how you'll create this is how you'll access the member variable. And let's say you have another function here, void display. Okay, so this display is a member function of the punctuators class, and now I want to call this function from this main function here, okay, with the help of P1 object. So what I can do is I can write here P1 dot display. So this is how you will access member functions. Let's compile it, and as you can see that we don't have any error. That means the program will compile, it will run successfully. So again, don't worry if you don't understand it, but it will be good if you can understand it. And even if you don't understand it, we'll be seeing a lot of programs in the future, and gradually you'll understand what is this object and why and how are we accessing this num variable with the help of P1 and the dot operator, and how we are accessing this display function with the help of P1 and the dot operator. So this was square brackets. This was dot operator. Now our next kind of token is operators. Okay. So what are operators? Operators are symbols which are used to perform arithmetic or logical operations in a given expression. So these are the main categories of our operators. First one is unary operator, assignment operator, arithmetic operator, relational operator, increment decrement operator, logical operator, bitwise operator, and ternary operator. But we'll not be discussing these operators right now. The focus of this chapter is on tokens, right? The focus of this chapter is on tokens. We are just having a glimpse, a look at the different kinds of tokens. We are not trying to discuss the use of those tokens in detail. Okay, so we'll be discussing all the operators. Don't worry. In the next chapter, I believe the next chapter itself is the chapter itself is based on operators. So we'll be looking at all these different operators in the next chapter. Next, we have escape sequences. Okay, so I have given you a brief introduction about escape sequence in the previous video, I think. Okay, so, and I discussed only a few of them. I discussed this one, didn't I? Backslash double quotes and backslash single quote. I have discussed these two escape sequences in the previous video. Today we'll look at some other escape sequences along with the definition. So what is an escape sequence? It's a set of characters that has a special meaning to the Java compiler. In the escape sequence, a character is preceded by a backslash. An escape sequence causes the character following it to escape its normal interpretation. For example, when you print the character N, the same character is displayed on the screen, but when it is prefixed with backslash, it is read as an escape sequence. So basically, whenever you use backslash, so whatever follows after this backslash will not give the usual meaning to the compiler. Okay, for example, let's say I just want to print system.out.println. I want to print N. Let's compile it, and all of you know what the output for this will be. The output will be N. Let's have a quick look at it. So you can see the output is N. But if I prefix this N with a backslash, so backslash N, let's see the output now. Compile it, execute it, and you can see that there is no output. It's blank. The terminal window is blank. You cannot see anything. So what's going on here? So when you prefixed backslash before N, that means you are telling the compiler that do not interpret the meaning of n in its usual manner. It will have a different meaning, and the compiler knows the different meaning as well. So the different meaning is that this \n creates a new line. It creates a new line. Okay, you can understand this if I write two more lines here. So let's print A and B. First, let us remove this \n and see the output. So output is A on the first line and B on the second line. Now let's change the code. Let's bring in our \n. So this \n will create a new line. So what do you think the output will be? So what do you think? What will be the output? Will it be A, B? There is no blank line here, okay? It's consecutive lines. So line number 1, line number 2. So will this be the output, or the output will be A, then a blank line, and then B? Or the output will be A, then one blank line, then another blank line, and then B? So out of these three outputs, which one do you think is the correct one? So if your answer is option 3, you are correct. Let's have a look. So as you can see, we have got two blank lines here. On line number you have A, line number 2 a blank line, line number 3 a blank line, and line number 4 letter B. So how is this happening? Let's go through it. So first line, system.out.println, this is the first statement to be executed. It will print the character A, and since this is print line, okay, it's ln. It's not just print, it is print ln. So after printing A, it will take the cursor to the new line. So we are at line number 2. So the control will come here. It will print whatever is inside these double quotes. And where it will start printing? It will start printing from where the cursor was left by the previous statement. So this is our previous statement. This statement left our cursor here on line number 2. Therefore, whatever is there inside these double quotes of line number 2, that will get printed on line number 2. So line number 2, what will it print? It will print \n. \n is nothing but a new line. Okay, that means one more line is inserted and our cursor will come here. And since this is print ln, the cursor will be taken to the next line. So after execution of line number 2, after this line has executed, our cursor is here. Okay, so this one is our line number 3 and this one is our line number 4. Our cursor is on line number 4. So B gets printed B gets printed on line number 4, and then the cursor is taken to the new line, that is line number 5. So this is how the output is working. Okay, so this was a bit complicated, but if you think about it again and again, then you'll grasp the concept. Let's make things a little bit easier now. Let's make this print instead of print ln. Okay, so in all the statements we have got print now. It's not print ln. Notice this. So what do you think the output for this will be? Will it be AB? Will it be A, B on separate lines? There is no blank line here. Or will it be A, then a blank line, and then B? So which answer is correct? Which output is correct? If you have chosen the second one, you are correct. Let's have a look. So as you can see, A, B with no blank line between A and B. So how is this happening? So since we have got system.out.print here, whatever is there inside the double quotes will get printed here, and the cursor will not be taken to the next line. Not be taken to the next line. The cursor will remain on line number 1. Okay, then the control will come here on this line, and this will print a new line character. So where is the cursor? The cursor is on the first line. This \n will print a new line. That means it will take the cursor to the next line. Okay, that is line number 2. So after the execution of this statement, our cursor is on line number 2. So when this statement executes, B will get printed on line number 2. So the output is A on line number 1 and B on line number 2. So I hope you understand what is the function of \n. It just inserts a new line in simple words. Nothing more than that. Then we have double \. Okay, let's say I want to print \home. This is the text that needs to be printed on my output window. Now how can it be done? This \/ should be printed. Remind you, \/ should be printed. So if I just write \home, will this print my required text? It will not print. It will give me an error. As you can see, errors found in class, because I told you earlier that whatever comes after \/ it means something special to the compiler, and in this case we have got \h, and as you can see that in the list of our escape sequences we don't have anything called \h. That is why it is resulting in an error. But I do want \home to get printed on the screen. So that can be done by inserting one more backslash. So double backslash will place a single backslash. Let's have the output. So as you can see, this time we don't have any error, and the output is as expected, \home. Now backslash double quotes and backslash single quotes is already discussed in the previous video. So if you haven't watched it, you can watch that video. In that video I have discussed in detail backslash single quote and backslash double quote. I have also discussed backslash 0. It represents the null character. In the previous video I've discussed backslash 0 and null, null. Both are null, but this one is null character, whereas this is null keyword, which is used with non-primitive types. So all these has been discussed in the previous video. Please watch that. And backslash r is not important, and backslash a is not important. Okay. Next is backslash question mark. So backslash question mark. So backslash question mark is just for printing question mark. Okay, just as I showed you how to print backslash home. Okay, if you want to print if you want to print question mark itself, how can it be done? You have to write backslash and question mark. You cannot just write question mark. Okay, because question mark it will work in certain cases. Okay, if you just write question mark also, it will work in some cases, but in some cases it might not work. So it is recommended that while dealing with it, you use backslash question mark. And backslash t is used for giving a few spaces in between text. So let's see an example. Suppose I write A, B, C and backslash T, D, E, F. Again backslash T, G, H, I, and then I write J, K, L. So ABC got printed, then we had backslash T. So this backslash T will insert a few spaces. Okay, so the number of space is fixed. So if there are 4 spaces here, you'll always have 4 spaces printed when you use backslash T. So after printing DEF, okay, again I had backslash T. After printing DEF, I have backslash T. So again a few spaces got printed because of backslash T, and then the text is GHIJKL. So this is what backslash T does. It prints a few spaces. Now, one more important point about escape sequence is that if you notice that all these characters \n, \t, then \0, okay, so certain characters are in the non-printable form, okay, that means it's not visible. \t is not visible, \n is also not visible, okay, although you know by seeing the output that there is a \t or there is a \n, but you cannot visibly see. So our tokens topic is finally completed, and we'll stop here. Thank you.